Hello, this screencast is going to walk through the installation of Blacklight. We're specifically going to be installing Blacklight version 3.2.2, which is on Rails 3.2.1, the most recent version of Rails as of the recording of this screencast. This installation procedure should be accurate for the upcoming versions of Blacklight, as we do not see anything coming down the pipeline that will change, but your mileage may vary with differing versions than the ones that I just mentioned. Before starting any Ruby project, it is a good idea to install RVM, which is Ruby Version Manager. You can get this at rvm.beginresqn.com. It's highly recommended to use, and it will help you out a lot with making sure that you don't have issues with dependency management. Once you have installed RVM, you'll want to get the appropriate Rubies installed. We're not going to go through that process right now, but I do have a couple of Rubies installed here. You can see one of them being Ruby 187. I'm going to use the rvm use command, and I'm going to create the gem set called BL demo. All of this is documented very well on their website, so you can go there and see all of this syntax. So I'm going to pass the -- create flag to make sure that if this doesn't exist, that we create a new one and then we use it. If I now list all of my gem sets, which you'll see I will have a bunch, there is an arrow indicating that we are using the BL demo gem set. Now if I list my gems, you can see I have very minimal. I only got 3 here, one of which is bundler, which will be very important for the installation procedure. Something that you may need to do is update your Ruby gems. So if you do gem -- version, you can see that I'm running 1.8.15. You may need to have an updated version from what you have. Some versions going back will work, but you'll want to most likely do a gem update -- system if you've got a very, very old version of Ruby gems. So the first thing that we will need to do is we're going to need to install Rails into this project. Again, the latest version of Rails is 3.2.1, which just gem install Rails will run for us. Okay, now that Rails is installed, which you should see some sort of output like this, we can go ahead and create a new blank Rails application. That's simply done by calling the Rails new command and then the name of the application. For this one, we're just going to call it Blacklight demo. Create a bunch of files and is also going to run this bundle install command, which we'll be running a couple more times to install some basic dependencies for a new Rails app. Alright, now that all of the Rails application's dependencies have been installed, we'll want to go ahead and cd into our Blacklight demo app. You can see we have some directories here, and this is all the stuff that Rails new command created. One thing that you're going to want to do right off the bat is remove the public index.html file. It's there, and when you open up your Rails application for the first time, it'll be the home page, and we just need to get rid of it to get it out of the way for the Blacklight homepage. Now you'll want to open up the project's gem file in your favorite editor. I prefer TextMate, so I will just go ahead and open it up there. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to see there's this gem file, and this is going to list all of our application's dependencies. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do in here is go ahead and add gem Blacklight. Now what's going to happen here is now when I run bundle install, it will download the Blacklight source code. Okay, now that Blacklight source code has been downloaded and all of its dependencies installed, we're going to have to install some method of authentication. Blacklight doesn't actually provide a specific authentication model for you or anything like that. There is a gem called devise, which is recommended for a really basic authentication method. If you'd like, you are also able to create your any sort of authentication on your own and implement it into Blacklight, and there is some documentation on our wiki for doing so. Just to make this easy, we'll go ahead and run put gem devise in here, and we'll go ahead and run bundle install again to install devise and any of its dependencies. Now that the devise authentication gem has been installed, as well as any of its dependencies, we're able to actually start with the installation process for Blacklight. Blacklight comes with what is called as a generator. This generator will do all of the installation for you, such as adding lines to files and copying certain configurations up from the gem to your application. You can easily run the Blacklight generator by running Rails generate Blacklight, and then since we installed the devise gem, we are going to want to run -- devise flag with this. If we were planning on providing our own authentication gem, we would not want to pass the devise flag. A quick note about the generator is that it is idempotent, meaning that as you upgrade your version of Blacklight, you will be able to run this generator as many times as you'd like over and over, and it theoretically should not conflict. And any times where it does find conflicts, it will give you the decision whether to overwrite, keep your existing file, or even view a diff of what the changes are. Well, now that the generator is done running, we are going to want to run the database migrations. Part of that generator was to copy some migration files up to our app. So I'm going to use the rake task db migrate, and that should generate some database tables for us. So now that our database is ready, the next thing that we're going to want to do is to generate a set of records that we can initially run on. This is actually the set of records that the Blacklight tests run under. They're 30 mark records indexed through SolarMark. We're just going to get these basically as a demo, and where you would go from here is to start indexing your own records and changing the schema and the configuration of both the Solar instance as well as Blacklight. So this is another Rails generator, so we're going to call Rails generate Blacklight, and then we're going to pass Jetty as the generator that we want to use, and this will install a version of Blacklight Jetty which has the appropriate configuration files for us. If you had your own existing Solar and you wanted to use that, you're more than capable of doing that. You would just need to change your Blacklight config. Also, if you had your own version of Jetty that you had, but you wanted to bring over the configuration files, there's also a generator that will copy over your configuration files. These are all in the normal installation docs on the Blacklight wiki. Alright, so it looks like Jetty is installed. So now I'm going to want to just really quickly cd into that directory, and I'm going to call nohup java -jar on start.jar and put it in the background, just so we can continue on. This is going to spin up Jetty in the background, and then we will continue on with what we're doing. So once we cd back out of Jetty into our main project directory, we can call another rake task which will index the 30 test records that came with the generator. So why don't we just go ahead and call rake solar mark index test data. Again, this is all in the installation docs if you need it. So this is going to take the 30 mark records, run them through SolarMark, index them into the Jetty that we spun up recently, and they will be ready for us in Solar. Now that our test records have been indexed, the only thing that we have left to do is to call Rails S. This is actually just shorthand for Rails server, which will start an internal WebBrick server for development purposes. So once you see that this output and it started on port 30, so I should now be able to go to localhost port 3000. So you can see we've got our 30 record index here, and it is ready to be customized to your fitting. You can index your own Solar documents, change the configuration, and do anything that you would need to do with your data. Well, thank you very much, and please see the links that will be in the notes for this screencast to ask us any questions or to get further information on Project Blacklight.